Greetings, peace, and blessings to everyone coming in. Thank you to the new subscribers. Please tap the like button on the way into the stream. I really would appreciate your participation on that. And if you aren't getting notifications, please feel free to unsubscribe and resubscribe and tap the all notification button so you can be notified when I go live or when I post videos. So, again, greetings. Listen, so Kamala Harris's perceived ambiguity and detachment from the African American community have led many to scrutinize her background to determine if her claims of a deep connection to her Black heritage hold up, right? She is one, Candace always is one of those taking a keen interest in investigating this narrative, aiming either to substantiate or challenge the story that Kamala has presented regarding her quote unquote Black identity and cultural ties. I'm going to give a small and abbreviated, condensed breakdown of the last two live streams and explanations and findings that Candace Owens and her team and her channel and her support system have been uncovering that can really not be largely disputed on any level. So I'm going to do the audio, no video, don't want to encounter any copyright issues. So here we go.
First Black female president of the United States. The media was trying to sell that, to force feed that to us. And I said, Black scientific theory says, no, this ain't your grandma. But I was receiving a ton of emails from people that were insisting that Beryl was Kamala's grandmother. Among the emails were a flurry of people suggesting that I speak to a woman known as Lady Colin Campbell. She also goes as Lady C. I'm familiar with her work. I've seen her. She's written in the Daily Mail before, or has been written about in the Daily Mail. She's a British Jamaican author and a socialite who grew up in Jamaica. And she's deep on genealogy. She's written several books regarding the British royals. This woman likes history. She likes facts. And someone had sent me a clip of her from her YouTube channel during which she was fielding questions and people were asking her to look into my research into Kamala Harris. And she said, rather offhandedly, that she had asked around and that she had a friend that was on the island who had confirmed to her that Beryl was, in fact, Kamala's grandmother, seemingly putting to rest all of my theories. But I remained completely undeterred, and I just ignored it. Lady C said that she was hoping to host that friend on her podcast in the future, and that the woman would spill all of the tea on how she knew Kamala's grandmother, Beryl. So I just waited. I waited for the future to arrive, and guess what? The future has arrived. And as promised, Lady C hosted Dorothy, that's the woman's name, Dorothy, the woman who knew Grandma Beryl. And I will tell you, the conversation did not go as Lady C expected. I think primarily because people who did not watch every episode of the series into Kamala were not quite understanding what we were uncovering. There were all of these people making response videos. I was going, you clearly did not watch everything that we're doing. We never said that Beryl did not exist. We always believed that Beryl existed. We simply did not believe that the woman that was presented in Kamala's book was her. We believed that this was a case of stolen identity. Essentially, there was a Beryl, but the woman that was being pictured was not the grandma, and they were playing funny business like commies do, switching identities. And it was strange that even though Kamala presented a picture of Grandma Beryl in the book, she didn't mention her at all in the book. What's up with that? You're just trying to blackify yourself. But Lady C likes research. Lady C was good on her word. She hosted Dorothy. So let's watch the first part of their conversation. This is Dorothy, again, the Jamaican woman who grew up and knew Grandma Beryl, Miss Beryl, personally. Take a listen.
So before we go off into that portion of the podcast where the YouTube channel person, they call her Lady C. She's an author. She's a genealogist. This is her niche. She looks into people's connections, backgrounds, lineage, was able to locate by asking around in, certain parts of Jamaica that Kamala Harris is known to be from or to be associated with. And she got a response from someone named Deborah. And Deborah gives some really, really key identifying marks and clues in remembrance of her relationship with Grandma Beryl. So as Candace was saying that, guess what? We're not saying that there was no Grandma Beryl. We're just saying that there is evidence to lead people to believe that the one that is shown in her autobiography and identified as Grandma Beryl is not Grandma Beryl, right? And we have issues actually believing Kamala. Just look at her interviews, for example. The interviews that Kamala has participated in, her popularity seems to be eroding as she often becomes across lacking being genuine. She seems to lack a level of honesty and transparency, or even more so and more important, a clear plan as she is vying and running to become the president, the 47th president of the United States. And it puts her at a disadvantage, in my opinion, because if currently the American people are suffering, they're struggling, and they're making a comparison under this current administration to the Trump administration, whether people like Trump, they liked his delivery, his approach, whatever it looked like. At the same time, guess what? Financially, people overall, if they're telling the truth, seem to be in a much better position than the people are now. So the question lies, and they're asking Kamala in this plan, what do you plan on doing any different than what is being done and has been done? Or what are you going to plan to do differently to correct and improve conditions of really key components of why you want to be elected as president of the United States, right? So, it is just one of those things where her reliability and her word really is not coming across as being genuine or believable amongst the people collectively in this country. So, what I would like to do is I would like to add to the stage, and I want to give you a clip and a visual of the interviewer and Miss Deborah that was being interviewed, stating that she met Grandma Beryl and what her memories of Grandma Beryl were. And she seems to be extremely clear, extremely confident, and very particular about things that she remembers that actually can be very key in helping people to think logically, to come to a conclusion whether Kamala's story is believable when it comes to the relationship with Grandma Beryl, and justifying that that woman in her autobiography is indeed actually Grandma Beryl, or was she placed there and she, fulfilled another capacity.
Okay, a couple of things flagged to me as interesting there. So she was really good at mathematics. Okay, so we're talking about a Black person. Again, this would not have been more than a couple of decades removed from slavery. And she was really good at mathematics, extremely well read, owned and operated a shop, and had the biggest house. What are we talking about? This doesn't feel like the correct kind of a Black story that I'm used to. A couple of generations ago, you go back, most Black people have my grandparents' sharecropping farm. Maybe, who knows? I'm like, okay, very clearly, though, we know she's telling the truth right away, because this is a good fact check against what Donald Harris wrote when he wrote a story about their Jamaican heritage for Jamaican Online Global. And he talked about those bustas. He talked about him and his sister Enid and how they loved the bustas. I think he said it was around Easter time. So everything she's saying sounds correct. But it was this next part, that instantly let me know that this woman was the real deal, because she presents a detail, something that I know to be a fact that I had not ever presented to the public. Remember when I told you that I got on the phone with a family member of Kamala Harris? And that family member told me that Donald Harris had two siblings, Enid Harris, who I have spoken to you guys about, and another sibling who I had never mentioned. It was Beryl's son, and his name was Kenneth. And this woman starts speaking about the Kenneth that I had never mentioned, who would be Donald Harris's brother. Take a listen.
So this is the woman here, the Black lady, or the brown lady, however you look at her. Her name is Deborah, and of course, this is Miss C, the interviewer on the right. And so I just wanted to give, some type of a visual to the context, since I don't want to show the actual video play, footage. So yeah, let's continue.
Was it a village or was it a hamlet? How many people would have been in it? How many houses? How many residents?
So at one time, everyone that lived there, it was a village. There was probably about 80 or 90 people. But at one time, everyone that lived there was a relative of mine.
Really?
Yes.
What about Miss Beryl?
So this would have been before people such as Miss Beryl moved there. But before that, everyone who lived there And even as a child growing up, most of the residents were connected in some way on my father's side, my grandfather's side, where they were all related. But Mrs. Beryl, my darling, also had a son. He was called Kenneth, and Kenneth had a motorbike, the equivalent of what we would now call a Harley Davidson. And of course, so at the time I would have been no more than 4 or 5. I'm not interested in what make your bike is. And he would put me on the front of the bike, whenever I came past with Uncle Cecil, and I would sit there and he would switch the engine on. And of course, looking back now, I realized the bike never moved, but he just held on to me, and I thought I was riding a bike, and I grew up absolutely loving motorbikes. He was very handsome.
Oh, Beryl must have had some money. Her son has the equivalent of a Harley Davidson. He was very handsome. He's got riding around on his motorbike. What are we talking about here? Like I said, this is when I knew that this woman was dialed in, because I had never spoken about Kenneth publicly, not for any particular reason. I just literally hadn't gotten around to it as I've been collecting all of this evidence to present to the public on Kamala's family and looking into Ian and looking into Kenneth.
So what she's saying is basically that she never really spoke on the other brother, but Miss Deborah makes clear relationship, connection, and relatability, and is very specific on her memories with that particular brother, that through Candace's own investigation and research discovered that there was a brother, said Kenneth, right? And so the correlation there and the relationship is super interesting, which gives again credence to Miss Deborah's story, that there's a feeling of her being super legitimate, as there's certain things that you just can't make up, right?
Very interesting. Again, sounds like this Beryl had a lot of money. It's just not giving the person that is pictured in Kamala's book. Now, of course, naturally, Kamala Harris then comes up in this conversation. And Dorothy keeps this same positive energy. She's very positive, right? She has a spirit about her. She has this fond memory. Delightful. She's delightful in her approach about Beryl. And she's delightful in her approach about Kamala and Kamala's features. She really likes Kamala's facial features. I'll tell you why. Take a listen.
And Miss Beryl, by the way, I see Vice President Harris on the box. I sit up straight and I think, my God, she looks so much like Miss Beryl. Her facial features, the only thing is Miss Beryl was much smaller in stature. But
well, okay, Miss Beryl, because Kamala is very fair-skinned.
Right.
Was Beryl fair-skinned?
yes, she was.
She was.
She was. She was fair.
Okay, so we don't want to slide past that. She just asked her, was Beryl fair-skinned? Based off of the picture in the autobiography of Kamala Harris, that woman is anything but fair-skinned. Let's continue.
Skinned.
She was. Okay.
Yes, she was very fair-skinned with black hair.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So she was so fair-skinned that now that I'm older and I can spot people by their skin coloring, etc., for me, I would say there was something Irish there.
How interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say somewhere along the line, she would have had ancestors that were Irish. Yes.
Actually, can I show you a photograph?
Of course.
Of an old lady.
Yes.
And some people speculate that this is Miss Beryl.
Right.
So, sorry, bear
That's
with me.
okay.
I am so untechnological.
Okay.
It's just pathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show a picture. So I guess Candace is going to show it. Let's continue, and maybe she'll bring it up close enough for us to be able to see it.
There we go.
Okay. Nah, that's not Miss Beryl.
That's not Miss
That's
Beryl.
definitely not Miss Beryl.
Okay.
That's not Miss Beryl.
So,
And-
I think you have to just show it.
Yeah.
So,
That is not Miss Beryl.
That's
No,
not Miss Beryl.
definitely not Miss Beryl.
okay.
And I know what she looks like. I couldn't have been in a dream, and she definitely did not look like that.
There's another person, but could that be Miss Beryl?
No, that's not
That's
Miss
not Miss
Beryl.
Beryl
That's not
either.
Miss Beryl either.
Okay.
Don't know who that is.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, she is saying absolutely without certainty that is not Miss Beryl. She didn't hesitate. She came right off of the cuff. She was extremely certain and sure. along with the other details that she was remembers when she was a child and she had a relationship with Grandma Beryl. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go to the next one while I pull up this picture. Give me 1 second, y'all. So this is the photo of the grandmother Beryl and Kamala in her autobiography. And I just wanted to show that context because Deborah says that this is definitely not the Beryl that she remembers and that she was very fair skinned, like Kamala.
DC was similarly shocked, gobsmacked, as she put it. Take a listen.
And gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. And it then begs the question, did she seriously think she was going to be able to get away with this?
She did.
I mean, I know Candace Owens has been going hell for leather on this, and Candace Owens is clearly black. So this is not about anti-blackness, because as you could see, Dorothy is not white. So, I mean, I'm just stunned that any ambitious politician would present as a grandparent of hers, and Kamala Harris is very fair-skinned. Whether she calls herself black or brown, she's still fair-skinned. But she definitely has black blood. So to that extent, it's not anything artificial. What does seem to be extraordinary is the creation of a black grandmother when her grandmother was of color but wasn't black. And she just did she get somebody off the street and pop them in the photograph? Was it a helper? Who was this woman? I mean, it boggles the imagination.
Don't you worry. Leave it with me, Lady C. From one Lady C to another, I'm going to get to the bottom of who that woman is.
Wow. So we are basically, she was saying that that's a specific characteristic that you just typically don't mix up. I can get maybe a hairstyle, I can get a body type, maybe a certain feature or characteristic in the face that may, shift over time with age. But usually speaking, complexion and skin pigmentation is not one of those characteristics. So I'm not going to make this a long video. I just wanted to kind of, bring this and do my share as far as bringing awareness and spreading the information that I know a lot of people are subscribed and follow Candace Owens, and many do with a fine-tooth comb. However, she has expressed the desire for the word to get out, and the more the merrier. So in conclusion, when it comes to Kamala Harris, her claims of a deep connection to the African American community continue to face scrutiny, with her authenticity or lack thereof being called into question. And through Candace's investigation, she's challenging the narrative by seeking concrete evidence that would either again confirm or debunk Kamala's portrayal of her heritage. This is an ongoing inquiry, and it really, in my opinion, reflects a broader issue, the desire for political figures to present genuine, relatable connections to the communities they aim to represent. So basically looking for the desired outcome. And in this instance, as you're pandering to the African American community, you're also pandering for the vote, right? As the story unfolds, it will be crucial to see if these claims are substantiated or if the public skepticism is indeed warranted. So thank you for coming in. I appreciate your time. Have a blessed one. And until next time, peace.